Okay, here we go. I'm going to put myself in every once in a while just for variety. Okay. Chapter 13, The Inn of the Red Lobster. Well, Cat and Fox and the marionette, they walked and walked and walked, and at last, toward evening, dead tired, they came to the Inn of the Red Lobster. Well, let us stop here for a while, said the fox, to eat a bite and rest for a few hours. And then at midnight, we'll start out again. And for at dawn tomorrow, we must be at the Field of Wonders. So they went into the inn, and all three of them sat down at the same table. And however, not one of them was very hungry. The poor cat felt very weak, and he was able to eat only 35 mullets with tomato sauce and 4 portions of tripe with cheese. And moreover, as he was so in need of strength, he had to have 4 more helpings of butter and cheese. Well, now the fox, after a great deal of coaxing, he tried his best to eat just a little. The doctor had put him on a diet, and he had to be satisfied with a small hare dressed with a dozen young and tender spring chickens. Now after the hare, he ordered some partridges, a few pheasants, a couple of rabbits, and a dozen frogs and lizards. And that was all. I mean, he felt ill, he said, and I could not eat another bite. Well, Pinocchio, he ate the least of all. He asked for a bite of bread and a few nuts, and then he hardly even touched them. The poor fellow, with his mind on the Field of Wonders, he was suffering from a gold piece indigestion. Well, supper over, the fox said to the innkeeper, "Give us 2 good rooms, one for Mr. Pinocchio and the other for me and my friend. Meow. And before starting out, we'll take a little nap. And remember to call us sharp at midnight, for we must continue on our journey." "Ah, yes, sir," answered the innkeeper, winking in a knowing way at the fox and the cat, as if to say, I understand. Well, as soon as Pinocchio was in bed, he fell fast asleep, and he began to dream. He dreamed that he was in the middle of a field, and the field was full of vines with grapes, and the grapes were no other than gold coins, which tinkled merrily as they swayed in the wind, and they seemed to say, "Let him who wants us take us." Well, just then Pinocchio, he stretched out his hand to take a handful of them, but he was awakened by 3 loud knocks at the door. Or was it 4? And it was the innkeeper who had come to tell him that midnight had struck, and the marionette asked him, "Are my friends ready?" "Oh, yes, indeed, yes. They went 2 hours ago." "Huh. Why in such a hurry?" "Well, Unfortunately, the cat received a telegram which said that his firstborn was suffering from chilblains and was on the point of death, and he could not even wait to say goodbye to you. Well, did they pay for supper? Whoa, how could they do such a thing? Being people of great refinement, they did not want to offend you so deeply as not to allow you the honor of paying the bill. Oh, it's too bad. That offense would have been more than pleasing to me, said Pinocchio, scratching his head. Where did my good friends say that they would wait for me? He asked. Well, at the Field of Wonders at sunrise tomorrow morning. Well, Pinocchio paid a gold piece for the 3 suppers, and he started out on his way toward the Field of Wonders. That was to make him a rich man. Well, he walked on, not knowing where he was going. It was dark, and it was so dark that not a thing was visible, and round about him not a leaf stirred. And a few bats skimmed his nose now and again, and scared him half to death. And once or twice he shouted, "Ha, ha, who goes there?" And the faraway hills echoed back to him, "Who goes there? Who goes there? Who goes there? Who goes there?" As he walked, Pinocchio noticed a tiny insect glimmering on the trunk of a tree. A small being that glowed with a pale, soft light. Who are you? He asked. I am the ghost of the talking cricket, answered the light, being in a faint voice that sounded as if it came from a faraway world. Well, what do you want with me? Asked the marionette. I want to give you a few words of good advice. Return home and give the 4 gold pieces that you have left to your poor old father, who is weeping because he has not seen you for many a day. Well, tomorrow my father will be a rich man, for these 4 gold pieces will become 2,000. Oh, don't listen to those who promise you wealth overnight, my boy. As a rule, they are either fools or swindlers. Listen to me and go home. But I want to go on. The hour is late. I want to go on. The night is very dark. I want to go on. The road is dangerous. I want to go on. Remember that boys who insist on having their own way sooner or later come to grief. Same nonsense. You goodbye, Cricket. Good night, Pinocchio, and may heaven preserve you from the assassins. There was a silence for a minute, and the light of the talking cricket disappeared suddenly, just as if someone had snuffed it out. And once again, the road was plunged into darkness. Okay, it gets pretty scary. So you may not want to do this next chapter with me because it's scary. Chapter 14. Pinocchio, not having listened to the good advice of the talking cricket, he falls into the hands of the assassins. Yes, it's true. Oh dear, when I come to think of it, said the marionette to himself, as he once more set out on his journey. We boys are really very unlucky. Everybody scolds us, everybody gives us advice, everybody warns us. If we were to allow it, everyone would try to be our father and mother to us, and everyone would, even the talking cricket. And it would take me, for example, just because I would not listen to that bothersome cricket. Who knows how many misfortunes may be awaiting me? Assassins, indeed. At least I have never believed in them, nor ever will. To speak sensibly, I think assassins have been invented by fathers and mothers to frighten children who want to run away at nighttime. And then, even if I were to meet them on the road, well, what matter? I'll just run up to them and I'll say, well, signore, what do you want? Remember that you can't fool with me. Run along and mind your own business. And at such a speech, I can almost see those poor fellows running like the wind. But just in case they don't run away, I can always run away myself. Well, Pinocchio was not given time to argue any longer, for he thought he heard a slight rustle among the leaves behind him. And he turned to look, and behold, there in the darkness stood two big black shadows, wrapped from head to foot in black sacks. And the two figures leaped toward him as softly as if they were ghosts. Here they come, Pinocchio said to himself, and not knowing where to hide the gold pieces, he stuck all four of them under his tongue. And he tried to run away, but hardly had he taken a step when he felt his arms grasped, and he heard two horrible, deep voices say, "Your money or your life." And on account of those gold pieces in his mouth, Pinocchio could not say a word. So he tried with his head and his hands to show as best he could that I'm only a poor marionette without a penny in his pocket. Come, less nonsense, and out with your money, cried the two thieves in threatening voices. And once more, Pinocchio's head and hands said, I haven't a penny. Out with that money, or you're a dead man, said the taller of the two assassins. Dead man, repeated the other. and after having killed you, we will kill your father also.
Meow. Your father also. Oh, no, 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 not my father,
cried Pinocchio, wild with terror. But as he screamed, the gold pieces tinkled together inside of his mouth. Ah, you rascal! So that's the game, huh? You have money hidden under your tongue. Well, out with it! But Pinocchio was stubborn as ever. Are you deaf? Wait, young man. We'll get it from you in a twinkling. And one of them grabbed the marionette by the nose and the other by the chin, and they pulled him unmercifully from side to side in order to make him open his mouth. But all was of no use. The marionette's lips they might have been nailed together, that they would not open. And in desperation, the smaller of the two assassins, he pulled out a long knife from his pocket, and he tried to pry Pinocchio's mouth open with it, but quick as a flash, the marionette sank his teeth deep into the assassin's arm, and he bit it off, and he spat it out. And fancy, to his surprise, when he saw that it was not a hand, but a cat's paw. Well, encouraged by his first victory, he freed himself from the claws of his assassins, and leaping over the bushes along the road, he ran swiftly across the fields, and his pursuers were after him at once, like two dogs chasing a hare. And after running 7 miles or so, Pinocchio was well nigh exhausted, and seeing himself lost, he climbed up a giant pine tree, and he sat there to see what he could see. And the assassins tried to climb also, but they slipped and fell. And far from giving up the chase, this only spurred them on, and they gathered a bundle of wood, piled it up at the foot of the pine, and set fire to it. And in a twinkling, the tree began to sputter and burn like a candle blown by the wind. And Pinocchio saw the flames climb higher and higher, and not wishing to end his days as a roasted marionette, he jumped quickly to the ground, and off he went, and the assassins close to him as before. Dawn was breaking when, without any warning whatsoever, Pinocchio found his path barred by a deep pool full of water the color of muddy coffee. Well, what was there to do with a 1, 2, 3? He jumped clear across it. And the assassins jumped also, but not having measured their distance well, splash! They fell right into the middle of the pool. And Pinocchio, who heard the splash and felt it too, he cried out, "Ha ha 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 ha!" But never stopping in his race. "A pleasant bath to you, signore!" And he thought they must surely be drowned, and he turned his head to see. But there were the two somber figures still following him, though their black sacks were drenched with dripping water.